The great station hung in space like a crystal flower. It spun slowly around the bright star of Kepler 442, its metal petals catching starlight and throwing it back in rainbow colors. Inside the station, beings from 12 different worlds walked through halls that smelled of home to each of them. The air changed as you moved from section to section, sometimes thick and warm, sometimes thin and cool, always perfect for whoever lived in that part. Ambassador Lisa Martinez walked down the main corridor toward the council chambers. Her shoes clicked on the smooth floor as she carried the data pad that would change everything. She did not know this yet. She thought she was just going to show some videos of Earth children playing games. Behind her walked Dr. Kevin Blake, a man who had spent 30 years watching kids grow up. He had kind eyes and hands that moved when he talked. He was excited to share what he knew about human children with the galaxy. The council chamber was huge. The ceiling stretched up so high that clouds formed near the top. 12 different seats sat in a circle, each one made for a different kind of being. The Zephyrians sat on chairs made of living crystal that sang soft music. Their bodies were tall and thin like glass sculptures, and light moved through them in slow waves. The collective members shared one large platform where their small bodies moved together like fingers on a hand. The Depths delegation sat in tanks of water that bubbled and gurgled as they spoke through their gills. Chairman Vexstar of the Zephyrians stood up when Lisa entered. His voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Welcome, humans of Earth. We are eager to learn about your young ones and how they prepare for adult life." Lisa smiled and activated the holographic projector. The air above the circle filled with images of Earth, green grass, blue sky, and the sound of children laughing. "Thank you, Chairman. We are happy to share our educational methods with the Council." The first video showed a playground at Lincoln Elementary School in Ohio. 30 children ran and played during their recess time. Some swung on metal bars while others slid down plastic slides. A group of boys and girls played a game called tag, running after each other and laughing when someone got caught. Another group played on the monkey bars, their small hands moving from bar to bar as they crossed from one side to the other. Dr. Silthara from the Zephyrian Education Ministry made a sound like breaking glass. Ambassador Martinez, why are your young ones engaging in chase behavior during learning time? Lisa looked confused. This is recess, it's playtime. Children need to run and move their bodies to stay healthy. The hologram showed more scenes. Children playing capture the flag, dividing into 2 teams and trying to steal a piece of cloth from the other team's base. The kids moved in groups, some acting as guards while others snuck around the edges of the playground. When one team member got tagged, they went to a prison area until a teammate could free them. The children shouted instructions to each other and changed their plans when the other team figured out what they were doing. The collective representative spoke in a voice that sounded like many people talking at once. These young humans appear to be practicing territorial acquisition and prisoner management. Is this military preparation? Dr. Blake stepped forward, his hands moving as he talked. No. These are just games. Children have been playing these games for thousands of years. It helps them learn to work together and solve problems. The next video showed dodgeball. 2 teams of children stood on opposite sides of a line painted on the ground. They threw soft rubber balls at each other, trying to hit the other team's players. When someone got hit, they had to sit out until their team caught a ball thrown by the other side. The children moved like dancers, jumping and diving to avoid the balls. Some kids threw hard and fast, while others threw softballs to their teammates who were sitting out, giving them a chance to return to the game. The aquatic delegate from the Depths made a sound like water running over rocks. The young humans are practicing suppressive fire techniques and casualty recovery. They show remarkable coordination for such small beings. Lisa felt a cold feeling in her stomach. It's just a game, they're having fun. The final video showed the most complex game. King of the Hill was played on a small mound of dirt behind the school. Children tried to reach the top of the hill and stay there while others tried to pull them down. But it was not just one against many. The children formed temporary teams, helping some kids reach the top while working together to pull down others. The alliances changed quickly as the game went on. A girl who helped a boy reach the summit would turn around and try to push him off when he got too comfortable. The council chamber fell silent except for the soft humming of the life support systems. The beings looked at each other with expressions that Lisa could not read. She had learned some alien body language during her diplomatic training, but these looks were new to her. Chairman Vexstar spoke slowly. Ambassador Martinez, Dr. Blake, thank you for this presentation. We will need time to discuss what we have learned. As Lisa and Kevin left the chamber, they walked past the observation deck where other aliens watched the stars. They did not see the emergency lights that began flashing in the military sections of the station. They did not hear the coded messages being sent to homeworlds across the galaxy. They went to their guest quarters, thinking the presentation had gone well. In the council chamber, Dr. Silthara turned to her colleagues. Her crystal body pulsed with worried colors. Friends, I have studied the war histories of 1,000 species. What we just saw was not play. Those human children moved with the coordination of seasoned warriors. They adapted tactics in real time. They formed and broke alliances based on strategic advantage. They showed no fear of physical contact or competition. The collective representatives' many voices spoke as one. Our own young do not display such complex behavioral patterns until they are fully mature. These human children cannot be more than 7 or 8 cycles old, yet they think like generals. In the water tank, the depths delegate created bubbles that formed patterns in their language. The translation came through speakers around the chamber. Most disturbing is their joy. They were not being forced to learn these behaviors. They chose to engage in mock combat. They smiled while practicing siege warfare. Chairman Vexstar's light dimmed. We must investigate further. If this is how humans prepare their young, we need to understand what human adults are capable of. The meeting that was supposed to welcome humanity to the galactic educational community had become something else entirely. As the station continued its slow rotation around the distant star, messages flashed across space toward military commands and intelligence agencies on dozens of worlds. The galaxy had just learned that human children played war games for fun, and nobody was quite sure what that meant for the future of galactic peace. The message reached Luna Base 3 weeks later. Captain Jake Sullivan was drinking his morning coffee and reading reports from the outer colonies when his communication system made the sound that meant priority diplomatic contact. He sat down his cup and pressed the button that connected him to the main comm center. Captain Sullivan, we have a galactic security inspector requesting permission to dock. They say it's about the educational presentation on Kepler Station. Kik frowned. Educational presentations did not usually need security inspectors. Send them to Docking Bay 7. I'll meet them there. The inspector's ship was unlike anything Jake had seen before. It looked like it was made of light and shadow twisted together into the shape of a teardrop. When the airlock opened, Inspector Quindle stepped out. The being was tall and thin, almost see-through, with eyes that looked like stars. Behind the inspector came 4 guards that moved like they were floating instead of walking. Captain Sullivan, the inspector said in a voice that sounded like it came from far away. I am Inspector Quindile of the Ethereal Collective. We need to discuss your species' military training methods. Jake felt confused. Inspector, I think there might be some mistake. The delegation to Kepler Station was about education, not military matters. That is exactly what we need to discuss. Your ambassador showed videos of human children at play. We need to compare these activities to her actual military training to understand the relationship between them. Jake agreed to the request because he thought it would clear up whatever misunderstanding had happened. He sent a message to Colonel Amy Rodriguez at Camp Davidson on Earth, asking her to prepare a demonstration of basic military training for the alien visitors. 2 days later, they all stood on the training grounds of Camp Davidson, the Earth base, sat in the mountains of Colorado, where the air was thin and clean. Colonel Rodriguez had set up a standard training exercise for the new recruits. 20 young soldiers in camouflage uniforms waited for instructions. Inspector Quindle watched, with eyes that seemed to see everything. Behind the inspector, Dr. Silthara from the Zephyrian Education Ministry held a device that recorded everything they saw. She had requested to join the inspection after studying the playground videos for many days. "Begin the exercise, Colonel." Rodriguez called out. The soldiers divided into 2 squads and moved toward a mock village made of wooden buildings and old vehicles. Squad A was supposed to capture the village while Squad B defended it. Jake watched the familiar drill, remembering when he had done the same training many years before, but as he watched, he began to see what the aliens were seeing. The soldiers moved in patterns that looked very much like the children playing Capture the Flag. They sent some people around the sides while others created distractions in the front. When one soldier got tagged by a training laser and had to sit out, his teammates adjusted their positions to cover the gap he left behind. Dr. Silthara made sounds like wind through crystal caves. "Captain Sullivan, how long do your soldiers train before they can perform these coordinated movements?" "Basic training is 3 months," Jake replied. "But most of these kids grew up playing games that use similar teamwork." Inspector Quindle turned to stare at Jake. "Games?" The demonstration continued. The attacking squad failed in their first attempt to take the village, so they regrouped and tried a different approach. Without any orders from their sergeant, they changed their strategy based on what they had learned from the first failure. Some soldiers created a diversion at the main gate while others climbed over the back wall. The defending squad noticed this and split their forces to cover both areas. "This adaptation behavior," Dr. Silthara said to her recording device, "matches exactly what we observed in the playground footage. The young humans changed tactics when their initial approach failed, just as these adult humans are doing now." Jake felt a cold knot form in his stomach. He was starting to understand why the aliens were concerned. The final part of the exercise was a rescue mission. Squad A had to retrieve a dummy that represented a captured teammate from inside the village. Squad B had to prevent the rescue while protecting their prisoner. Jake watched as the soldiers naturally fell into roles. Some became guards, others became scouts, and others became the rescue team. "Colonel Rodriguez," Inspector Quindle said, "how do your soldiers know which roles to take without specific orders?" The colonel looked puzzled. "They just do. Most humans are pretty good at figuring out what needs to be done in a group situation. We've been working in teams since we were kids." Dr. Silthara's crystal body began to pulse with worried colors. "Captain Sullivan, we need to observe human children again. But this time, we want to watch them play the same games we just saw in your playground videos." Jake arranged for the alien inspection team to visit 3 elementary schools in different parts of the world. They went to schools in California, Brazil, and Japan to see if all human children played the same way. What they found made their concerns grow worse. At the school in California, the inspector watched second-grade children play a game called Red Rover. 2 lines of kids held hands and called for someone from the other line to run at them and try to break through. The child who ran had to pick the weakest spot in the line and hit it with enough force to break the handholds. If they succeeded, they got to take someone back to their team. If they failed, they joined the other side. "They are practicing assault tactics on fortified positions," Dr. Silthara whispered to Inspector Quindle. "These children are 7 years old, and they instinctively analyze defensive weaknesses." At the school in Brazil, they watched children play a game called Cops and Robbers. Some kids played the robbers and had to reach a safe zone without getting caught. Others played the cops and had to catch the robbers before they escaped. The children playing robbers used stealth, distraction, and misdirection. The children playing cops worked together to set up roadblocks and chase patterns. Inspector Quindle recorded everything. The human young are practicing evasion and pursuit techniques. They show natural understanding of perimeter security and coordinated search patterns. At the school in Japan, they watched the most complex game yet. The children played something they called war, dividing into 2 large teams and trying to capture each other's flag while defending their own base. The game lasted for the entire recess period, and the children showed remarkable strategic thinking. One team sent a small group to attack the enemy base while keeping most of their forces back to defend their own flag. When the other team figured out this was a distraction and sent their own small force to counterattack, the first team was ready with a second wave of attackers. The children adapted their strategies multiple times during the game, always looking for new ways to outsmart their opponents. "This is impossible," Dr. Silthara said as they watched 8-year-old children execute a complex pincer movement that would have impressed military academies on our home world. "Our own cadets require years of training to coordinate such advanced tactics." Jake watched the children play and felt scared for the first time since the aliens had arrived. He was seeing his own species through alien eyes, and what he saw worried him. The kids were not just playing games. They were practicing warfare with the joy and enthusiasm that other species reserved for art or music. Inspector Quindale turned to face Jake. "Captain Sullivan, we need to expand this investigation. If human children naturally develop these capabilities through play, we must understand what human adults are capable of after decades of such conditioning." As they prepared to leave the school in Japan, Jake heard one of the teachers talking to another. "These kids get better at strategy games every year. Sometimes I think they could run the military better than the generals." The teacher was joking, but Inspector Quindale was not laughing. The alien being stared at Jake with eyes like distant stars, and Jake knew that the inspection was just beginning. What had started as a simple request to observe military training had become something much bigger and much more dangerous for humanity's place in the galaxy. The emergency session of the Galactic Council happened faster than anyone expected. News of Inspector Quindale's investigation had leaked through the diplomatic networks, and within days representatives from all 12 member species were demanding answers. The Great Chamber filled with beings who had not been in the same room together since the Treaty of Andromeda was signed 50 years ago. Chairman Vextar called the session to order, but his usual calm voice carried undertones of worry. "Fellow Council members, we gather to discuss disturbing intelligence about the human species. Inspector Quindale will present their findings." The ethereal being stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing footage from the Earth schools and military bases. "Honored delegates, what we have discovered challenges our understanding of human nature. Their children's play activities are not innocent games, but sophisticated military conditioning that happens naturally and joyfully." Delegate Morthic from the Merchants Guild made a sound like grinding metal. "The inspector's concerns are valid, but we have additional information to share. Our trade negotiators have been working with humans for 2 years now. We initially attributed their success to shrewd business sense, but recent analysis suggests something more troubling." The holographic display changed to show recordings of trade negotiations between humans and various alien species. Captain Ben Thompson of the merchant vessel Freedom's Call sat across from a group of Zephyrian crystal traders. The aliens watched as Ben seemed to casually ask questions about market conditions, shipping routes, and production schedules. To most observers, it looked like normal business conversation. "Notice the pattern," Delegate Morthic continued. "The human gathers information from multiple sources without revealing his true objectives. He creates artificial time pressure by mentioning other potential deals. He isolates individual negotiators from their group decision-makers. These are not business tactics, these are hunting strategies." The chamber filled with uncomfortable sounds as the various species processed this information. The collective representatives' many voices spoke in harmony. "We have observed similar patterns in human scientific collaboration. Dr. Elena Vasquez's research team displays what we initially thought was excellent teamwork. But analysis shows they coordinate like a hunting pack, with each member taking specialized roles while maintaining group awareness and shared objectives." Chairman Vextar's crystal body pulsed with worried light. Dr. Vasquez is scheduled to address the council tomorrow about human evolution. Perhaps her presentation will provide context for these behaviors. The next day, Dr. Elena Vasquez stood before the council, unaware that she was walking into a trap of her own making. She was a cheerful woman in her 40s who loved talking about science. Her research on human evolution had won awards on Earth, and she was excited to share it with alien scientists. Honored council members, I'm delighted to explain how humans evolved on Earth. Our species developed as persistence hunters, which means we chased prey across long distances until they collapsed from exhaustion. She activated her holographic display, showing early humans running across African grasslands. Unlike other predators that rely on speed or strength, humans used endurance and coordination. A group of hunters would spread out and take turns, chasing an antelope or zebra, never letting it rest. One human would run until tired, then another would take over, keeping constant pressure on the target animal. The alien delegates watched the display with growing alarm. Dr. Vasquez continued, not noticing their reactions. This hunting method required remarkable coordination and communication. Hunters had to read terrain, anticipate animal behavior, and adapt their tactics based on the prey's responses. Most importantly, they had to work as a unified group while operating spread out over many miles. Dr. Silthara made a sound like breaking glass. Dr. Vasquez, you describe military tactics, not hunting behavior? Elena laughed, thinking the alien was making a joke. I suppose they are similar. Humans have always been strategic thinkers. That's how we survived when we were physically weaker than most other predators. The holographic display showed more scenes from human evolution. Groups of early humans working together to corner mammoths, using fire and tools to create advantages over much larger prey. The coordination required was incredible. Some humans would create noise and movement to drive the mammoth toward a cliff, while others waited in ambush positions. The remarkable thing about human hunting behavior, Elena continued, is that it required every individual to understand the overall strategy while executing their specific role. A single hunter who broke discipline could ruin the entire hunt. This created strong evolutionary pressure for humans who could think strategically while following group plans. Inspector Quindle interrupted. Dr. Vasquez, when do humans begin learning these coordination skills? Oh, very early. Human children start playing games that simulate hunting behavior around age 3 or 4. Chase games, hiding games, team games, they all develop the same skills our ancestors needed for persistence hunting. The silence in the chamber was complete except for the humming of the life support systems. Elena looked around at the alien faces and realized something was wrong. Did I say something concerning? Chairman Vextar spoke carefully. Dr. Vasquez, you are describing your children's play as training for coordinated predatory behavior. Elena felt her heart start beating faster. Well, yes, but it's just evolutionary holdover behavior. Humans don't hunt large game anymore. We're a peaceful species now. The collective representatives' voices spoke as one. Dr. Vasquez, if human children naturally develop these capabilities through play, and human adults have decades to refine these instincts, what does that make your species in terms of strategic capability? Elena realized she was in trouble, but it was too late to take back what she had said. I study evolution, not military strategy. I can't speak to modern human capabilities. But the damage was done. Delegate Morthic pulled up the trade negotiation footage again. Now observe Captain Thompson's behavior with new understanding. He is not conducting business negotiations. He is executing a persistence hunt with contracts instead of spears. The video showed Ben Thompson patiently gathering information over several meetings, never pushing too hard, always keeping multiple options open. When the Zephyrian traders tried to end negotiations, he found ways to keep them engaged. When they offered terms he did not like, he did not argue but instead created pressure from other directions. Over weeks of patient work, he gradually cornered them into the deal. He wanted the terrifying aspect, continued Delegate Morthek, is that Captain Thompson appears to be doing this instinctively. He shows no sign of conscious manipulation or deception. This behavior seems as natural to him as breathing. Dr. Silthara activated her own display, showing side-by-side video of human children playing tag in Captain Thompson's negotiation sessions. Observe the similarities. The human children chase their targets with the same patient persistence Captain Thompson uses in business. They adapt their approaches based on their target's responses. They coordinate with teammates while maintaining individual initiative. The behavior patterns are identical. The depths delegate created a complex bubble pattern that translated as deep concern. If Dr. Vasquez is correct about human evolution, then every human adult we encounter has been shaped by millions of years of selection pressure for strategic thinking, group coordination, and predatory persistence. Their peaceful behavior toward us may simply indicate that they do not yet consider us prey. Elena tried to defend her species. Humans are naturally cooperative and empathetic. We've built peaceful societies and want to be friends with other species. Inspector Quindle turned its star-like eyes toward her. Dr. Vasquez, your own research indicates that human cooperation evolved to make hunting more effective. How do we distinguish between genuine friendship and pack coordination for unknown purposes? The question hung in the air like a poison cloud. Elena realized that everything she had said to educate the aliens about human evolution had instead convinced them that humanity might be a species of natural-born predators who were simply being patient about revealing their true nature. Chairman Vextar made the decision that would change everything. This council declares a formal investigation into human capabilities and intentions. Until we understand the true nature of this species, all human integration programs are suspended. As Elena was escorted from the chamber, she heard the aliens beginning to plan detailed studies of human behavior, military capabilities, and strategic thinking. The presentation that was supposed to build bridges between species had instead convinced the galaxy that humanity might be too dangerous to trust. The worst part was that she could not argue with their logic, because she was starting to wonder the same things about her own species. The message that reached General Patricia Hayes was not what she expected when she woke up that morning. The communication came directly from Galactic Military Command, marked with security codes she had only seen during the worst crises. The message was simple but terrifying in its implications. Report to Kepler Station immediately for emergency assessment of human military capabilities. Patricia had been a soldier for 30 years, working her way up from lieutenant to general through skill, determination, and an intuitive understanding of battlefield tactics that her peers found remarkable. She had never thought of these abilities as unusual until she found herself sitting across from military representatives of 12 different species, all of whom looked at her like she might be the most dangerous person in the galaxy. The military assessment chamber was different from the diplomatic areas of the station. The walls were made of dull metal instead of pretty crystal, and everything was designed for function rather than beauty. 12 different types of military equipment sat around the room, from the Zephyrian crystal battlesuits to the collective's hive mind coordination devices. Fleet Commander Zekmar of the warrior caste spoke first. His species looked like living rock formations with glowing eyes, and his voice sounded like boulders crushing together. General Hayes, we need to understand the true extent of human military capabilities. Our observations of your species have raised concerns about the nature of human strategic thinking. Patricia felt confused and worried. Commander, I'm not sure what concerns you're referring to. Earth's military capabilities are limited to our own system and some basic patrol vessels. We're not a threat to anyone. The chamber filled with sounds that she was learning meant skeptical disagreement in various alien languages. Inspector Quindle activated a holographic display showing the footage from the playground observations and military training exercises. General Hayes, our analysis shows that human children naturally display tactical coordination that exceeds the capabilities of trained military personnel from several member species. We need to assess what this means for adult human military potential. Patricia watched the videos with growing unease. She saw what the aliens were seeing. The children did move with remarkable coordination and strategic awareness. But to her, it just looked like normal kids playing normal games. Fleet Commander Zekmar gestured to a complex simulation chamber in the center of the room. We have prepared a series of tactical exercises. We want to observe how human officers perform compared to trained military personnel from other species. The first exercise was a basic battlefield simulation. Patricia found herself working with a mixed unit of alien soldiers to capture a fortified position. The aliens had trained for decades at their military academies, learning complex battle doctrines and coordination protocols within the first 5 minutes. Patricia had assessed each alien soldier's capabilities, identified the best approach to the target, and begun coordinating a multi-pronged attack that used each team member's strengths while covering their weaknesses. She did this without thinking about it, the same way she had been solving tactical problems since she was a child playing Capture the Flag. The alien observers watched in silence. As Patricia's human instincts took over, she saw the battlefield not as a collection of obstacles and enemies, but as a complex system that could be understood and manipulated. When the enemy forces adapted to her initial approach, she immediately recognized the pattern and shifted tactics to exploit their new positions. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Clark joined the exercise as Patricia's second in command. Ryan was a young officer who had grown up playing the same playground games as every other human child, though he had never connected those games to his military success. Working together, Patricia and Ryan demonstrated coordination that seemed almost telepathic to the alien observers. "How do they know what each other is thinking?" whispered Dr. Silthara to Inspector Quindle. "They have not spoken a word to each other, yet they execute complex maneuvers in perfect synchronization." The answer was that Patricia and Ryan were reading each other's intentions through tiny gestures, positioning, and tactical logic that felt natural to both of them. They had learned this communication style as children, playing games where success depended on understanding your teammates without giving away your plans to the other team. The second exercise was more complex. The simulation placed Patricia in command of a unit containing soldiers from 6 different species, each with different capabilities, equipment, and tactical doctrines. The alien commanders expected this to take hours of coordination and planning. Instead, Patricia looked at her diverse team for about 30 seconds, asked each soldier to demonstrate their special abilities, and then immediately began organizing them into a coherent fighting force. She put the flying ethereals in reconnaissance roles, used the armored rock warriors as mobile shields, and positioned the amphibious depth soldiers to control water-based terrain features. Sergeant Nicole Davis arrived to assist with the demonstration. Nicole had been selected because she was considered an average human soldier, not particularly special or gifted. The alien observers wanted to see typical human military performance, not exceptional cases, but to the aliens, Nicole's performance was anything but typical. She took command of a squad containing 3 species she had never worked with before, and within minutes had them operating like a unit that had trained together for years. She instinctively understood how to motivate each alien type, when to give detailed orders and when to allow independent action, and how to maximize their effectiveness while minimizing their weaknesses. "This is impossible," Fleet Commander Zekmar said to his colleagues. "Our own officers require months of cross-species training to achieve basic cooperation. This human soldier is making tactical decisions about species she just met." Dr. Marcus Webb, a military psychologist who had been brought in to explain human behavior, tried to help the aliens understand what they were seeing. Humans evolved as pack hunters, which required individuals who could quickly assess group dynamics and optimize collective performance. Sergeant Davis is applying the same instincts her ancestors used when coordinating with hunting partners. The final demonstration was the most disturbing to the alien observers. They brought in a group of human 10-year-old children and asked them to play a complex strategy game against teams of trained alien military cadets. The children thought it was a fun challenge and approached it with the same joy they showed. For all their games, the kids were led by Alex Johnson, a 4th grader who loved playing war games with his friends. Alex looked at the game board, studied the alien opponents, and began organizing his human teammates with casual confidence that made the alien commanders feel cold inside. Maya Rodriguez, Alex's teammate, naturally fell into the role of intelligence. Coordinator, gathering information about the alien team's strategies and relaying it to other human children. 9-year-old Chris Miller became the tactical coordinator, moving game pieces with an understanding of terrain advantages that impressed professional military analysts. The children defeated their alien opponents not through superior knowledge or training, but through instinctive strategic thinking that seemed hardwired into their brains. They read their opponents' intentions, adapted their strategies in real time, and coordinated complex plans through minimal communication. "They are treating warfare as play," Dr. Silthara said with horror. "These human children show more tactical sophistication than our military academies produce after years of training, and they approach it with the same joy our young show for art or music." Dr. Webb tried to explain, human children don't see this as warfare. To them, it's just a complex puzzle that's fun to solve with friends. The strategic thinking comes naturally because it evolved as part of human social behavior. But his explanation only made things worse. Fleet Commander Zekmar turned to the other military representatives. If human children develop these capabilities naturally through play and human adults have decades to refine these instincts through experience, then we are not dealing with a military species. We are dealing with a species where every individual is born with general-level strategic capability. Inspector Quindle's star-like eyes focused on General Hayes. "General, our assessment indicates that what humans call normal military training would be considered elite special forces preparation by most species. What humans consider average tactical thinking exceeds what we consider exceptional strategic ability. How do we evaluate the threat potential of such a species?" Patricia realized that her species was in serious trouble. Everything that made humans good at working together, solving problems, and adapting to challenges was being interpreted as evidence of dangerous military capability. The traits that made humans effective soldiers were the same traits that made them effective at everything else, because they all came from the same evolutionary source. "We're not a threat," she said, but even as she spoke the words, she wondered if they were true. If every human really did have the strategic thinking ability that other species considered exceptional, what did that mean for the balance of power in the galaxy? What happened when a species of natural-born tacticians decided they wanted? The tribunal chamber felt different from the other rooms on Kepler Station. The walls were made of dark metal that absorbed sound, making every word feel heavy and final. 12 judges sat in elevated seats, representing each species in the Galactic Council. Ambassador Lisa Martinez stood in the center of the room, facing questions that could determine whether humanity would be welcomed into galactic society or classified as a potential threat species. Chairman Vextar spoke in a voice that carried none of its usual warmth. Ambassador Martinez, the evidence presented to this tribunal suggests that human children undergo military conditioning disguised as play, that human adults display strategic thinking that exceeds our best military minds, and that your species may represent a fundamental threat to galactic peace. How do you respond to these charges? Lisa felt the weight of her entire species' future pressing down on her shoulders. Behind her sat Dr. Kevin Blake and several other human officials, but she knew that words alone would not be enough to change minds that had been made up through weeks of investigation and analysis. Honored judges, I understand your concerns, but you have misunderstood the nature of human behavior. Yes, our children play games that develop strategic thinking, and yes, human adults can be effective in military situations. But you have missed the most important aspect of human nature. Fleet Commander Zekmar's rocky voice interrupted. What aspect is that, Ambassador? Lisa activated her holographic projector. I would like to show you footage from Mars Station Alpha, where we have been running an experimental exchange program between human children and young aliens from several species. The chamber filled with images of a playground unlike any other in the galaxy. Human children played alongside young Zephyrians, small collective drones, and amphibious younglings from the depths. What the judges saw challenged everything they thought they knew about human nature. 7-year-old Alex Johnson was organizing a complex game that included children from 4 different species. But instead of using his strategic thinking to dominate the other children, he was adapting the rules to make sure everyone could participate. When the young Zephyr could not run as fast as the others, Alex changed the game so that speed was not the most important factor. When the collective drone had trouble with individual decision-making, Alex created team roles that let the drone contribute to group decisions. "Observe carefully," Lisa said to the judges. "Alex is using the same tactical thinking you found. So concerning, but notice his objective. He is not trying to defeat the other children, he is trying to include them." The footage showed more examples. Maya Rodriguez had noticed that the young Depths child was becoming frustrated because the playground games were designed for land-based species. Maya organized the human children to build a water feature in the play area using the same coordination and planning skills that had worried the military analysts. But the purpose was to create a space where their amphibious friend could be comfortable. "Doctor?" Silthara made soft chiming sounds. "The human child is applying military engineering principles to playground construction. But she is doing it to benefit an alien child, not to gain tactical advantage?" Lisa continued the presentation. "What you interpreted as predatory behavior is actually protective behavior. Human children use their strategic abilities to take care of group members, not to exploit them." 9-year-old Chris Miller appeared in the next footage, teaching a complex strategy game to alien children who had never played anything like it before. The judges watched as Chris broke down complicated tactics into simple steps, adjusted the difficulty based on each alien child's abilities, and celebrated when his alien friends succeeded even though it meant they might beat him in the game. The human young one is deliberately reducing his own advantages to create fair competition, observed the collective representative. "This behavior contradicts predatory instincts." Inspector Quindle leaned forward with interest. "Ambassador Martinez, are you suggesting that human strategic abilities evolved not for hunting but for group care?" Dr. Kevin Blake stood up to answer. "Inspector, that is exactly what we are suggesting. Human strategic thinking did evolve from hunting behavior, but hunting was never the primary purpose. The primary purpose was taking care of the group." Kevin activated his own presentation, showing research data that Tribunal had not seen before. Human hunting was never about individual success. It was about feeding the entire tribe, protecting the weak, and ensuring group survival. The strategic thinking that concerns you so much evolved specifically to support cooperative behavior. The holographic display showed early human societies sharing food, caring for injured members, and organizing themselves to protect children and elderly people. The same coordination abilities that made humans effective hunters made them effective caregivers and community builders. "When human children play strategic games," Kevin continued, "they are not practicing warfare. They are practicing how to take care of each other. The child who becomes the leader in a playground game feels responsible for making sure everyone has fun. The child who wins feels obligated to help others improve so they can win too." Lisa returned to the Mars station footage. "This is why our children adapted so quickly to playing with alien youngsters. Their strategic instincts told them to assess each alien child's needs and capabilities, then organize activities that would benefit the entire group." The judges watched as human children consistently used their tactical advantages to help rather than harm their alien playmates. When a young ethereal became confused during a complex game, the human children naturally reorganized the rules to be clearer. When a small rock warrior child felt left out because of size differences, the humans created special roles that used the child's natural advantages. Fleet Commander Zekmar spoke slowly. "These human children display the same strategic coordination we observed in your military exercises, but they are applying it to social cooperation rather than tactical dominance." "Exactly," Lisa replied. "What you see as military conditioning is actually community building that happens to produce excellent soldiers as a side effect. Human strategic thinking exists to protect and include, not to dominate and exclude." The tribunal spent hours reviewing the new evidence. They watched footage of human adults working with alien colleagues, using the same tactical thinking that had worried them but applying it to solve shared problems and achieve common goals. They saw human negotiators like Captain Ben Thompson, using strategic patience not to exploit alien traders, but to find solutions that benefited both sides. Chairman Vexstar called for a recess so the judges could discuss what they had learned. When they returned, his crystal body pulsed with different colors than before. Ambassador Martinez, this tribunal has reached a conclusion. We initially interpreted human strategic abilities as evidence of predatory nature, but the evidence from Mars Station suggests a different interpretation. Dr. Silthara stood to address the chamber. The human children on Mars Station demonstrate that strategic thinking and protective behavior are linked in their species. They use tactical abilities not to harm but to help. This suggests that human adults with advanced strategic capabilities may actually be ideal candidates for peacekeeping and diplomatic roles. The collective representative spoke next. We propose a new classification for humanity. Rather than potential threat species, we recommend designation as natural peacekeeper. Candidates. Their combination of strategic excellence and protective instincts makes them uniquely qualified for roles, requiring both tactical thinking and genuine commitment to group welfare. Lisa felt hope rising in her chest for the first time in weeks. What does this mean for humanity's integration into galactic society? Chairman Vexstar's voice carried warmth again. It means we want to learn from you rather than fear you. The Galactic Council formally requests that human children begin teaching their play-based learning methods to other species. We believe your natural approach to strategic cooperation could benefit all our civilizations. The tribunal's final decision established the Human Integration Protocol. Instead of being classified as a threat, humanity became the galaxy's first designated peacekeeper species. Human children were invited to every member world to teach their games and help alien young develop better cooperation skills. Human adults were offered leadership positions in interspecies projects where their strategic thinking and protective instincts could benefit everyone. 6 months later, Lisa stood on the observation deck of Kepler Station watching human and alien children play together in the new integrated playground. The alien children were still amazed by human strategic thinking, but now they understood it for what it truly was. Alex Johnson was teaching a group of young Zephyrians how to play a modified version of Capture the Flag that included flying elements for their crystalline bodies. Maya Rodriguez had organized a complex engineering project where children from 6 species worked together to build the most elaborate playground fort anyone had ever seen. Chris Miller was running a strategy tournament where the goal was not to defeat opponents, but to help everyone improve their tactical thinking. The galaxy had been shocked to learn that human recess was military conditioning. They had been even more shocked